We can do this. Hello, friends out there in YouTube land. Robert Ham here. Once again, Robert Ham Photography. I've got a wedding tomorrow, and I wanted to kind of share with you some of the equipment that I'll take for something that's going to require videography, photography, and a photo booth. So there's lots of stuff that's going on. And I actually make one of these every time I do a wedding, but I never ever post them just because for some reason, when I look back at it, they always take so long. So I'm going to try to get this one done in about 10 minutes. So if you're ready to stick around, it's going to be fast, but it'll give you an idea of the type of things that I'm using. And if I look like I'm talking this way, I am, because I want to try to get you good audio as well, and it's just how it's set up right now. So this is the day before. So I started charging all my batteries. Everything's being charged. I've already synchronized the cameras that I'm going to use. And let me just kind of go over those with you. I've got the XT1 right here with the battery grip, right? And I've got the 35mm f2, water resistant, weather resistant, and that's on here. And this is actually going to be the lens that I'm going to do the majority of my video work with. This camera setup right here will be how I'm grabbing most of my video. Now, that doesn't mean that all of my video is going to be done with this. I do have my trusty 55-200, which I'll use during the ceremony itself. This wedding's taking place on a golf course, so very beautiful backdrop, all kinds of nice stuff. Gorgeous buildings all around, very modern, but also the lush beauty of a golf course on a golf course community as well. And it's one of the top-rated golf courses that we have here in America, which is pretty nice. It's also called the First Tee of Hampton Roads. It's part of that network, so it's pretty cool. This one is just a lot of fun. So I guess what I'm saying is the XT1 is a great camera to do that with. It's good video quality. I bring everything in 1080p at 60 frames a second. I edit it down to 720, right around 30 frames or 60. I've got that if I need some slow-mo. And then I keyframe everything really high, and I set a very high bit rate. Like I said, like a 36 or a 42 megabytes per second bit rate for my output of 720. So what ends up happening is that even though I'm recording at 1080 and exporting in 720, each one of the frames that comes out is like a still frame, if you would call it that, like a still frame image from the camera. And it gives a very, very high quality, high fidelity image, which is nice. And that's how I do it. Now, there's 1,000 ways to do video. You're welcome to do video your way. I just shared with you how I do video my way. And so this is the main camera for that. But I'm also going to be taking still photos with this as well. This big f2 aperture on this lens is great for that. You know, the reception and the darker kinds of shots. So this is what I'm going to be using. I've got a 256 gigabyte video card in here, or a memory card, so I'm ready to go with that. So that's going in the bucket right there. Continuing on along, the main picture camera today is actually going to be the X Pro 1. If you guys had a chance to pick this camera up when B&H had it for $500 or less, new old stock, because they stopped producing it when they came out with the XT2 or the X Pro 2, then you would have been in for a treat. Granted, it's not the X Pro 2, but it is the first generation X-Trans 16 megapixel sensor with the EXR processor. The characteristics on this camera system and setup, specifically with this lens, this whole thing was designed to use the same lens, this 18 to 55 f2.8 to 4. That was designed with this camera for it. Of course, the other primes were as well. The 55 to 200 was, but not to work with the optical viewfinder, just the EVF. But there's a sweet spot. There's something beautiful about this camera and this lens setup that I absolutely love. I enjoy it. Now, that might just be me. It might just be the matter of my own opinion, right? So I don't want to see any of those moo comments down there. What I'm saying is that I like using this. So this will be my main shooter today because my main focus with the XT1 is actually going to be video. All right, my backup shooter and my wide shooter, of course, is going to be right here. And this is my trusty, you guys know and love, the X100S. Now this is the second generation X-Trans 2 processor with the EXR processor, the generation 2, the same one that's in the XT1. And so just gorgeous images come out of this. You know why I like it? I've got a leaf shutter, so I can do wide shots outdoors and group shots outdoors in the sunlight and synchronized flash, which I'll be using a lot for the outdoor shots of this wedding. So I can get my wide shots, of course, that 35mm wide field of view with this camera real nicely. And I like that. But we don't end there, okay? There's more. So here we go. This is the TCL X100. Of course, we know that it's there. This is the lens I'll pair with this one, mainly because when I need to get in a little bit closer and I want that 50 millimeter perspective, it'll be nice to have the TCL X100 so I can get in tighter and still use all the capabilities of the built-in ND filter, the leaf shutter. I also put a 2.5 stop circular polarizer on here, so I've got 5.5 stops of light gating ability, including the neutral density filter. And guys, you know that means I can shoot basically wide open at f2 all the way up past a 1/16,000th of a second for this camera. What would be 1/16,000th of a second because of using the ND filter, of course, that comes down to 1/1000th of a second. So if there was a situation where I would need that high of a shutter speed, the ND filter built in plus the 2.5 stop circular polarizer that I attach to the filter ring of the lens will help me gain that kind of control that I need. So we've talked about that lens. Let's talk about the other two lenses we're going to take. Of course, we talked about the 55-200. I love this. I don't really need too much with it. The minute that I slap a circular polarizer on here, a 62 millimeter, that's 2 stops, 2.5 stops on here, plus when I'm using it zoomed in, I'm around f4, f5, then I can actually photograph on the beach or video on the beach and not have much to worry about when it comes to loss of contrast or anything, because the lens already has a smaller aperture, but it's still bigger than most. It's still a better designed lens. This is actually a great lens for video. Smooth focusing throughout with that. Even though it's focused by wire, it's nice and smooth if I choose to focus. However, generally, I set the focus, and I might pull focus or rack it a little bit, but mainly just go from there. So I like this lens for that. It also has the dubious honor of pulling double duty of being my my zoomed in lens for the kiss shot. So I gotta do kind of one or two. Lots of times I'll take video as the kiss begins, and then I'll stop real quick and take pictures. I'll put it on continuous auto and it'll take some photos. That's kind of tricky, but it'll be easy this time because I've got one of my associates, Brandon. You guys may see him in one of the later videos. He'll be there assisting me with the photography. Continuing on along, you're going to see this for video. I've got the Osmo right here and the LG G6. And of course, people are going to laugh and cry when they say, why in the earth would you use a cell phone at a wedding? And you're right, it sounds ridiculous. The reality is, though, for B-roll shots, the LG G6 has a beautiful wide-angle camera. It's great. In place of an action cam, I use these all the time. These sensors and the sensor in the LG are about the same. These provide great. This is the AS100V or AZ100V, whatever, or AS200V. This is a nice handy cam that I use. It's great for when I need it stabilized on the inside, and also it's wide enough that once I get out there, I can always crop it down because I'm going to 720 and still stabilize the footage. So yeah, so this Handycam right here has kind of been replaced for a lot of the B-roll footage that I would get with the Osmo and the LG, just because of the choice of two lenses, a standard lens and a wide-angle lens in the LG, plus a big view screen where I can preview it right now real easily. Lots of times I use the watch with this. And of course, I've got another one that's plugged in over there. I've got the AZ. I don't know. I got the other one that I don't like as much. It's great outdoors, but these are also good when they're just static on tripod mounts or light stands. And another thing about video, a lot of this stuff is actually going to be outdoors. So in order to help, kind of get better shots, of course, outdoors in the light, brighter light, faster shutter speed. So I'm recording everything at 60 frames a second. I said that earlier, but the other benefit to that is I'm gaining a little bit more of the light while I'm outside. So I'm gaining the ability to have smoother, more detailed motion because I'm doubling my frame rate while in the video rather than 30. But I'm also having the amount of time that each frame is exposed, leading to a little bit better exposure, less grainy images from image processing, which is pretty nice. The last lens that I'll use is actually the Rokinon 85 f1.4, which is about 130 millimeters on a crop sensor. This is a great lens, manual focus, so this is a much more steady, timed kind of shot thing that you're doing. Also, for the reception, it definitely requires at a minimum a monopod in order to use on the X-T1 because there's no stabilization built into the lens. But I love it, so I'll take it. I'll get some very special shots while people are dancing and things like that. I'll use this as well. So you notice I've got a harmony of lenses that are going on here between short focal ranges and long focal ranges, and there's not really too much in between. The in-between comes in the range of the zoom as well as the 50 millimeter converter that I've got. So I've got basically wide at 2318. I've got telephoto up to 200, 130 to 200, but then I've got the small mid-range right around 50, 55, and that's in zoom lens or the conversion lens. So that's really how I shoot in order to make the magic, and that's the lenses. We're almost done, guys. I don't know what time we're kicking at. Looks like, goodness, I don't know. I can't tell. Looks like we're getting somewhere around there. So flash, Yongnuo Wine 560 Series 4. 3 of these are going to be on all of the cameras. That way I can sync when I need to. 2 of them are going to be on light stands that I can move around. And then I will use the transmitter, the YN560TX, on whichever camera that I have in order to maneuver and change the settings if I need to. I can also use that directly from the lights if I need to. All right, so that's been how I'm going to take the photo and the video part. The other part is actually the photo booth. Now, the couple has their own backdrop that they want to use, and that's fine. It's wide enough for me. My requirements is at least 8 feet wide and 8 feet tall. And that's because most of the time people think about photo booths and they kind of get in this crazy thing like they just want to put something up on the wall. They don't know. They're not photographers. And what people also forget is that unless you enclose your booth real small, you're going to get people to jump in. They want to be a part of that shot. And I want people to be a part of that shot as well. So I like an open booth. I like people to see the fun that they're having. I like people to kind of get the impression. And I also like to have a photographer man the photo booth, right? I don't like any of this stuff where you just go up and you push a button on an iPad app. No. So for the photo booth, we're probably going to go ahead and be using, I switch it up. I'll probably use the X100S with the 35mm lens, put it in one spot, and that'll just be set up. I'll have my focus set, tape on the ground where I want people to stand, and then it'll be very simple. We can go up there and we can have Brandon or my sweetheart, Quinn, who will also be there. They can just as easily click the shot and then manage the actual print. So that's really all I want to happen. So I like to set up the shot in the first place, how many people, where they're going to stand, put little X's on the ground. And I like to do a chest-up kind of shot, which is nice, where everybody looks fun, and do a little strip of photos that has lots of pretty happy faces on it. And I like to print that out. To print it out, we're using the D&P DS80. You can't see it. I still got to load it. But it's about a 40-pound printer, and it does prints on dye sublimation paper. And that's important because it prints very quickly. 30 seconds, I can have an 8x10 completely done. And I can have 4 strips of my paper, actually 5 strips of photo strips on that paper ready to be cut at the cutter. So it's pretty simple. And I guess, speaking of the cutter, the last little piece is my D&P DS80. I don't have any software that makes it cut along that 8x10 strip, so I've got to do that manually. And so the person running the photo booth, after it prints out, it's gonna go ahead and cut. You may say, how do you print out at the photo booth? How do you sync your images? I use the Microsoft Surface Pro 4, but you could use any laptop. And then I also use an iFi card. I put the images on small, medium, so they transfer in about a second and a half. They get over there. I go ahead and preload the images with a preset in Lightroom so that once they come out, they're pretty much done. And then we just push the print button as the page fills up. And I've got a template set up for all that. So there's a lot of stuff that really goes into this, you know. So so maybe we've been 10 minutes now talking about it, maybe 15, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And in order for it to go off without a hitch and have people shaking your hands afterwards, it's got to be seamless. The guests need to not see anything that's a breakdown. They need to see nothing. Your staff that you've got working there helping you need to be able to communicate with you and be problem solvers, you know. And so if you don't have problem solvers, if you got people that just show up and use your equipment and don't have any idea of what's going on, then this is something that would be very sketchy for you to get into. But if you've got a team that you've worked with that understands the equipment, that maybe is a photographer on their own as well, actually I think that's probably a plus. But the point is they're not just using your stuff. They have a good understanding of what's going on. Then you can provide this kind of service, this all-in-one kind of service, and reap the benefits of that, which is a lot of prowess. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy them. It's going to be about a 10, 11-hour day for me tomorrow, and about an 8-hour day to 6-hour day for the people that are helping me. But that's it. So guys, that's a look and a kind of quick overview, as quick as it can be, of what I'm using at a wedding like this, where I'm doing something that's really big, which is, you know, 3 different things: photo, video, and photo booth. I'm Robert Ham with Robert Ham Photography. Don't forget to catch me on Facebook and Twitter, where you can see all this kind of stuff with my cool Instax. I really like that, especially over there on Instagram. At Rob Ham Photo is where you'll find that handle. You can catch me here. Don't forget to get chatty with me down in the comments below. Ask some questions, and I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching.